Hey everyone, COE33 here with Oscar, and of course, my sister Leaf. Leaf is down here playing a little Desert Demolition. That's the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner game on the SEGA Genesis. And today we're going to be sharing our SEGA Genesis collection video with you. And the majority of that collection is upstairs in the upstairs game room. But down here in the downstairs game room is where we have our SEGA Genesis hooked up. It's a Model 1 SEGA Genesis, and we have it hooked up to a Sony Trinitron television. And this is just a really great, comfortable spot to hang out and play a little Genesis. Leaf and I both grew up with the Genesis. We have a lot of fond memories of playing this system. It's definitely one of our go-to systems to play. And there's so many great games for it, lots of wonderful co-op experiences to be had. And it's just something that we get a lot of enjoyment out of playing and collecting. So why don't we head upstairs and take a look at the collection. We're in the upstairs game room, and this is where we keep the majority of our SEGA Genesis collection on our SEGA shelf over here. Up top we have a 3-button SEGA Genesis controller, along with a little custom SEGA sign that Leaf and I printed out, and of course Tails is hanging out up here. Our games are all stored on this shelf, but over here we have some more SEGA Genesis items, including a boxed SEGA Genesis core system, a 6-button arcade stick, and our 32X over there in the box. And we also have a SEGA Genesis arcade cabinet. This is a project that Leaf and I built together, and really love this thing. It's a lot of fun to play on. We have about 50 or so SEGA Genesis games installed on here, custom printed marquee, and yeah, this was just a really fun project, and whenever we have people over, they always seem to gravitate towards this thing and have a lot of fun playing on that, so that's really cool. So moving over to the collection. Starting on the top shelf, we have, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog, one of the great classic games for the SEGA Genesis and one of my all-time favorite games. I bought a SEGA Genesis, actually, excuse me, I was gifted a SEGA Genesis for Christmas one year as a child, and Sonic the Hedgehog was the pack-in game for that system, that console bundle, and I absolutely loved it, and that really solidified my love for SEGA in general. And I've played that just countless hours, and Leaf as well, she loves that game, and we both played that growing up, so definitely a must-own, and we're really happy to have that complete in box in the collection. And then next to that is Sonic the Hedgehog 3, another great game. All those early Sonic games on the Genesis were really good in my opinion. And then we've got Garfield Caught in the Act, Beavis and Butthead, Jurassic Park, Pitfall, Eternal Champions, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Crash Test Dummies, Batman Forever, Toe Jam and Earl Panic on Funkatron, and boy would I like to track down a copy of the original Toe Jam and Earl for the Genesis. I've always been looking out for a deal on it, and I just never seem to come across a good price on that. So hopefully here soon we'll be able to add that to the collection, because the first Toe Jam and Earl is one of my favorite games on the system, and I'm actually really looking forward to the new Toe Jam and Earl game that's coming out. We backed that on Kickstarter, so I can't wait for that to be released. Next to that is one of my favorite games of all time, and that's Earthworm Jim, and it's actually one of my favorite series, because behind that we have the second one, which is also an incredible game, and just one of my favorite games for the system, awesome platformer. And then we just picked this up recently, which is Road Rash 2, which really happy to have that. And then behind there we have another excellent game, and that's Comix Zone, which is kind of a side-scrolling beat-em-up with a really cool graphical art style. It looks like a comic book came to life, and they just did such a good job with art style in that game, and definitely a gem on the SEGA Genesis. Moving down, we have some of our loose carts, starting with Thunder Force 3 that you can see there with the label pointing towards the camera. It's a great shmup, and I'm really happy to have that in the collection. And then we also have Monopoly, Toy Story, Mickey Mania, Gargoyles, and this was gifted to the channel by a very generous viewer, and really appreciate that. It's awesome to have in the collection. Family Feud. We got Super Volleyball, Clue, Cliffhanger, love this movie, Pac-Man 2, The New Adventure, Street Fighter 2 Special Championship Edition. Love this game. Used to play this in the arcade all the time with my buddies. Tiny Toon Buster's Hidden Treasure. It's a fun game. Leaf really likes that game. Caesar's Palace. T2, the arcade game, another awesome movie. Batman Forever, or excuse me, Batman Returns. Super Hang-On, classic. Predator 2. I have not played this game yet, but that's another movie that, well, actually, you know what? Predator 2 wasn't that great, but the first Predator is awesome. Tasmania, had this growing up, really enjoyed it, and it's a fun game. Very cool addition to the collection, Chakan, and that's an awesome game. Really enjoy this one. We got another copy of Desert Demolition. That's what Leaf is playing down there. Ren and Stimpy Show, Stimpy's Invention. These Ren and Stimpy games are a lot of fun, and of course a classic cartoon. And we've got Taz in Escape from Mars. This is the sequel to Tasmania. And then we have Sonic and Knuckles. Thunder Force 3. Hiding behind there is a really fun co-op game, that's Forgotten Worlds. And I actually want to get this complete in box, because this one's kind of a little beat up. It's got these little stickers on it that won't come off. So, and this is just such a fun game. I had this growing up. Leaf and I sat down and played this all the way through not too long ago and had a really good time with it. We've got a game that we just picked up, Shadow Blasters, and I sat down the other night and played this all the way through in one sitting, and this is a bit of a little hidden gem. I knew nothing about it, and I was actually really impressed. It was easy because you have unlimited continues, but sometimes that's really nice. And I just had a great time with this game, so I'm really happy that I picked that up and took a chance on it. Thunder Force 2, and what a great game this is. It is very beat up. This is a rough copy, but I found it at a, was a St. Vincent de Paul, I believe, and it was really cheap. And definitely a nice addition to the collection, even though it's beat up, but it plays, and that's the most important thing. X-Men 2, Clone Wars. Another great game, Decap Attack. Really enjoy this game. Had that growing up as well. One of my favorites, Kid Chameleon. Love this game. Platformer, really cool play mechanics, interesting story, a lot of fun. Brutal Paws of Fury. It's a fighting game. Wheel of Fortune. Aladdin, one of the great games for the system. Disney's animation skills in the Genesis era were some of the best out there. Graphically, this game is awesome, and it plays really well, still holds up now. Just a great game to have and to play. Wolfchild, it's an interesting game. Picked this up a while ago and gave it a try, and I actually enjoy it. It's pretty cool. It's not one that I played growing up, but it's definitely a cool one to have in the collection. Another great Disney game, Lion King. Beautiful art style in this game as well. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, classic. Another version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That last one was the not for resale version, and that's the regular version, the retail version. Menacer, this is the 6-game cartridge for the light gun peripheral that comes with the Genesis, or that you can buy for it, I mean. And I actually had a Menacer, and I remember playing it with my buddies and having fun. Growing up, back in the 90s. Vector Man, very cool platformer. And the last game here we got is Last Battle, classic Sega game. And it's a lot of fun. I haven't played this in a long time. I should actually pop this in the Genesis later and play this again. It's been ages since I've tried it. Moving down, we have some more complete in box games, including our most collectible and rare game in the collection, and that's Crusader of Senti, which is an Atlas game. It's more or less a Zelda clone. It's actually a very fun game. When I picked that up recently, I went ahead and played through it and really enjoyed it, and really happy to have that in the collection. I'm glad that not only is it collectible and rare, but it's a lot of fun, so that's awesome. Behind that, we have a couple sports titles, nothing too interesting. Sunday Night NFL, Brett Hull Hockey, World Cup USA. But next to that, another classic for the system, one of my favorite games, one of Leaf's favorite games, and that's Zombies Ate My Neighbors. We picked that up at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo last year, and really happy to have that in the collection. Biohazard Battle, an awesome shmup, really enjoyed that game. Another great shmup, Arrow Flash. Next to that is Subterranea, Double Dragon 5, Mortal Kombat, which of course everyone knows Mortal Kombat's a great game. Lots of fond memories of playing that in the arcade. The first X-Men game for the Sega Genesis, which is really fun. I've quite enjoyed that game. Asterix, which I have not played that yet. Krusty's Super Fun House. Combat Cars. That was a pickup not too long ago, and that game's not very good. I can't recommend that one. Cool Spot and Arrow the Acrobat. On the next shelf we have some more great games, including Echo the Dolphin, which is another classic for the system. Beautiful art style, really kind of weird, esoteric gameplay and story. And I actually just recently watched a great video that I recommend you guys check out about the origin story behind Echo the Dolphin. It's actually a pretty twisted story. I believe it was Slope's Game Room that did that. I'll put a little link in the description below and a little pop-up in the right corner right now. Definitely check out that video. It was well worth the watch. Very interesting. Next to that is Marble Madness. I quite enjoy that game, even though it's pretty aggravating to play at times. Fantasia, Quackshot, starring Donald Duck, and Leaf and I just sat down and played that a couple nights ago and had a lot of fun. We got Green Dog, the beach surfer dude. I remember renting that growing up and having a lot of fun with it. Toki Going Ape Spit, definitely happy to have that in the collection, and what a great title for a game. Toki Going Ape Spit is a really great title, and a fun game as well. eSWAT City Under Siege, which is kind of a classic Sega arcade game that they ported over to the Genesis. Tailspin, World of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. Alien 3, James Pond 3, and next to that is a fairly recent acquisition to the collection, and that's Shining Force. Really happy to have that in the collection. And behind that we have some more pickle juice, I guess you would call it, which is sports games. We've got NBA basketball, World Series baseball, and Madden 95. Moving down to the last two shelves, we have some loose cards. Starting from the left and moving right, we have Shadow Dancer, The Revenge of Shinobi, and Shinobi 3. I love the Shinobi games. I'm sure a lot of you have played those. They're amazing, great music, really good graphics, solid gameplay. Really no complaints there. I quite enjoy those, and I go back and play those pretty frequently. Next to that, another great series, which is Golden Axe. Definitely a classic co-op, kind of a beat-em-up. We got Golden Axe and Golden Axe 2. Next to that is probably the greatest beat-em-ups of all time, in my opinion. That's the Streets of Rage games. I can never get enough of Streets of Rage. We have that on our Sega arcade cabinet as well. And Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2. Would love to get those complete in box, along with the Golden Axe games. So I'm always on the lookout for those boxes and manuals. And then next to that is Leaf's favorite game for the system, which is Rystar, and that's an awesome game, really good graphical art style, along with solid play mechanics. And last in line there is a duplicate of Comics Zone. And behind there you can kind of see some games peeking through. We've got the Aquatic games featuring James Pond, Bubsy, the original James Pond, Desert Strike, and Might and Magic, which we just recently picked up in a On the Hunt episode. Moving down to the bottom row, we've got some more games here. We got Columns, which is a fun puzzle game, Animaniacs, NFL Club 96, NBA Jam, which is probably my favorite sports game. We've got Cyberball, RBI Baseball, Hard Drivin', and next to that is a really nice addition to our collection. That's Code Eliminator. That's John Hancock's homebrew game that he released. We bought that from him at the 2015 Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I'm sure a lot of you know who John Hancock is. Not only is he a really nice guy, but he's got an incredible collection. I believe he has 20-something complete North American sets in his collection. He signed that for us, which is really nice, and this is number 33 out of 40, which is awesome. And it comes with as the cart falls out. It comes with the cart there, a manual, and even a little feely. There's a little creature in there, which is really fun. And super happy to have that in the collection. And next to that is Contra Hardcore. It's a reproduction, and it was a really generous gift to the channel from one of our viewers. And really happy to have that in the collection. So that is our SEGA Genesis collection, guys. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye!